Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
It's time for another conversation. This is Making It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Daly. And with me this time around, I have two handsome gentlemen. It's such a pity. This is all audio. One of these days, I'm going to have to go with video so people can see what I'm talking about. I have with me Rushane Nelson. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I have Danever Scott. Now, Rushane, how long have you been married?
Almost 2 months now.
Almost 2 months.
Well, 2 months, yes.
2 months. And Danever?
Well, 15 years.
15 years. So you're getting the newbie, so to speak, and you're getting the seasoned veteran. And what they'll be talking about is why should a knowledge of the other's conflict style help both to be more tolerant of each other? Gentlemen, which one wants to go ahead at this first?
Well, because there is so much difference in terms of our upbringing, and we are pretty much cultured, and being exposed to different level of knowledge as to what's right from what's wrong. Therefore, that makes us individually unique in terms of our belief system.
Okay.
Therefore, with that, I can respect each other's unique way of, approaching problem, issues, conflict style, whatever it is that we might call it. With that knowledge, I can respect each other.
Okay. Rushane?
I think also everybody's background is different, and that leads to situations where we react differently to certain things. So I might like to react to something in a particular way. Janelle might not like it that way. And because I don't understand why she reacts that way, I'm going to believe that probably it's not the way I would like her to respond. So she's being difficult or she's being rude. And it can come across as very confusing sometimes. And then arguments develop because we don't get the reaction that we expect to get.
Okay.
Yes.
No, at this point, is this what you've noticed since you've been married? Because as the saying goes, and I said it last time around, so with the females, see me and live with me are two different something. Now, is it that what you noticed during dating and courting in terms of how, if y'all had arguments or disagreements, is it the same now that you're both married and living together? And for you, of course, it would be a while, so.
Well, I mean, at the moment, are not better yet. For the past 8 years,
Okay.
it has been different.
Okay.
But the first 7 was World War VI, we call it.
Okay.
But major changes now.
Okay.
For the better, that is.
For the better? All right.
Is it the same? Yes and no.
Okay.
It's the same in terms of we are kind of both stubborn. It's not really the same because this time I can't just say, all right, I'll walk you home and then go home and think about it. I have to face it. Yeah.
You have to face it.
Right.
Okay. Do you think at this point you can basically predict how your respective spouses will react to a particular situation? Specifically, I mean, conflict is the focus here. Do you
Yes.
think you're almost at the point you can almost predict? Because even though you've been married for just, 2 months, y'all were dating for a while. So you've been together now for...
In total, 8 years.
So that's a long time, right? So,
Well, for me, being married for 15 years, I'm somebody who looks deeply in every single detail.
okay.
And because I'm like that, I tend to observe personality traits and try to take an interest in understanding, who is my wife. And as a result of that, I then, learn what's unique to her
Okay.
and adapt in terms of how I approach her. So pretty much I'm able to predict. I'm not gonna say every move because ladies can be unique.
Okay.
And I mean it takes a while to really, especially when they have the different emotions that they face based on the uniqueness as it relates to females. But for the most part, I can predict about a 90%.
Okay.
You know,
I guess it comes with time because I'm not there as yet.
Okay.
But I would say it's like the weather in Mandeville. You can't really predict everything. I know that there are scenarios when definitely she will be upset, but to what extent, what reaction she will give, I can't really tell all the time. So it's best to just play it safe and just observe and learn as I go along.
Okay. Do you think then that there is any one conflict style that is the best? Looking at within your own marriage, would you say how I handle conflict is a better way, how she handles conflict is a better way, or what would you say? Is there the ideal conflict style?
for me, I believe unique to our marriage, and I'm a bit daring to say, for other marriage, I would recommend it also.
Okay.
That this conflict style that I have learned, I believe it's a revelation that I receive because it's so accurate.
Okay.
And it is this: before concluding on anything that you might observe, always investigate,
Okay.
ask question,
Okay.
control your emotion,
Okay.
ask question for clarity before I conclude on anything. And as a result, it always work out to be where I say, okay, that's why you feel the way you feel. I realize we have a misunderstanding. And trust me, a lot of quarrel, a lot of conflict, is eradicated because of that approach. And it works every time.
Okay. Okay.
If you
Rushane?
try to avoid conflicts in terms of what you believe or what the person's thinking at the moment, it goes a far way. Trust me, cuts arguments down by more than half. But I like to just get it over with right now. I want to discuss this and just put it aside and move on to something else. And Janet is like, no, probably I need the rest of the day to calm down. And then I think about it and then we talk about it. And I'm like, no, I just need to move on. So what you need to do is decide who is going to be the one who is willing to compromise based on their conflict style. So I say, okay, then it will not work if I try to just get it over with now. So just bear with it, toss and turn in the bed, but allow her to just get over it. And then she will come around nicely and talk about it. And that's the way we work it out.
Okay. Do you think for somebody who's listening and saying, I'm not married yet, gentlemen, I'm probably not in a relationship, whether dating or otherwise, would you then tell them to try this approach? Or what would be your advice to somebody listening to saying, I'm not quite where you are just yet, gentlemen?
Truth be told, it's a work in progress. And why I would recommend this conflict style to persons, it doesn't just help you in your marriage, but generally in life.
In other relationships.
Right,
Okay.
at work, in the workplace, because you realize that a lot of conflicts is really, caused by some form of insinuation or interpretation, right? Where one person believes that you did this and this is your intention, and so they respond in a offensive way. And so because we are not observant or we don't practice to be observant, to observe that, truth be told, that person might just be going through something, or whatever the case may be, that person might just, been through some stuff in the past. And you just need to find out what's really going on before I conclude and I resolve.
There's a saying that says belief kills and belief cures. So if you believe that somebody's intention is to hurt you, then you will react to them in a certain way.
Naturally.
And as was said, it does help to know another person's conflict style, whether outside of marriage or family in general, colleagues, everybody. Because even at work now, because I had to read about the conflict styles before going into marriage. But then I decided then this can be applied generally. Because if you know how persons react to certain things, then you treat them in a particular way. So I applied it to family members and I'm like, what? Why didn't I know this when I was growing up? Then I apply it at work and I realized, well, I don't have a lot of conflict at work, but then I realized that you understand people better and then you're able to deal with them better. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. What then would you say to somebody who's still a little bit skeptical about how, in terms of just how to be more aware of what the other's conflict style would be, which would then result in the tolerance?
My number one recommendation is concur on this, that we all were exposed to a unique set of knowledge while we were growing up
Okay.
in terms of church, community, home.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really analyze everything, we don't all have it together in terms of truth.
Mm-hmm.
To say my way is the only right way.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, be aware now that what I believe, what I concur on, what the facts is, or that I believe that the facts is, it might not be so.
Okay.
Because all of us is gonna react and interpret based on our belief system. Right? Whatever we have in us as information that says this is right, that's wrong. We are not always. I want to tell you that the greater percentage, we are not right most of the time. So you find that we are using ourselves based on our belief system to judge others, and so it's flawed many times, and that's why we have so much problem in the world and in marriage, etc.
So in our lives, we are judging people based on right or wrong when there is no right or wrong. Conflict style is basically like your favorite color. Everybody is different. And if you appreciate a person's favorite color, then you're going to bring them gifts with their favorite color.
Right.
You're going to dress up things with their favorite color because you appreciate that and you understand that that is their favorite color. And the same will go in return if somebody understands you, they will treat you in a particular way. So it's not about right or wrong. And I don't, if somebody is skeptical, I don't know why you'll be skeptical about understanding somebody and avoiding conflict unless you love conflict, which I don't think anybody does. Then if you really want to get on in life and have good friendship and good relationships, then it's best to understand why people do what they do and how they react to certain things.
And I just said something about it's not about being right or wrong. That just dragged my memory to a very interesting insight that the Lord just dropped on me, that He's not interested in who's right from who's wrong. He's interested in what we do, whether we are right or whether we are wrong.
That's right. That's right.
It's all about accountability. So I should stop focus on being right and you being wrong.
Yeah.
That distract us and we lose sight of the real focus of what things should be.
True. True.
And we end up fighting and having problem, struggling because I want to be right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's one recipe for disaster in terms of conflict.
Yes, it is. As we're wrapping up, any final thoughts?
On the matter of right and wrong, it brings back to memory a story in the Bible. This man owed the king, and then the king said, I'll pardon you. And he decided that he'll accept the pardon, but he would go and assault another person who owed him much less than what the king pardoned him of. And this brings to the mind the fact that none of us are right, none of us are worthy of being praised for what we do or how we react to situations, because the truth be told, we react negatively all the time. But God is sitting and He's looking at us and He's saying that I will pardon you. I just want you to understand your brother's situation. So the king was furious because this man couldn't understand his brother's situation, but he wanted the king to understand him. So in our relationships, God puts us in relationships so that we understand people and we understand how He wants us to react to Him. Because He's teaching us a lesson. When you can get along with your fellow men, then you can look to God and say that we can get along, we can have a mutual relationship. So we learn from these relationships and it helps us to better react to God. Yes.
Any final thoughts, Danever?
Yes. I mean, one thing that has blessed my heart so much is the fact that God says we should love. And when you delve into the characteristics of love, it is nothing that is self-centered, but it's always giving. Christ gave Himself so we can have life. When you look at how He says, husband, love your wife. Technically what Christ is saying, making Himself a reference, is that, man, we should technically be a savior of our house, which means we give ourselves, which self we're talking about. It's not us, the flesh us, who is supposed to respond to our wife and operate and speak in the womb. But guess what? It is love, the examples that Christ set forth and has showed us. So we should not use our own words, in other words, based on how we feel.
Yeah.
But we should use the words that Christ would use in responding to whatever issue or
Situation.
conflict or situation there is. And he tells us also how the woman should submit. So when you look at that, you realize that it's a life of me, the man, living for my wife and not for myself. The wife living for me and not for herself. So if we should get that really right,
Yeah.
what a harmony.
Yeah.
And take it further and look in the circle of the church. We living like that at home, then we will have church.
Aye. Boy, that sounds like another podcast. That sounds like a conversation for another podcast. Thank you so much, gentlemen. The topic was, why should a knowledge of the other's conflict style help both to be more tolerant of each other? It is my hope that even if you're not in a relationship, as a marriage relationship, or even dating, you got something from this episode that will help you to have a better relationship with those around you. That's what it's all about. Until next time, I'm Noreen Daly.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.